The winners of the Bricklink Designer Program Series 10 have officially been revealed, and honestly, this is a pretty strong wave, although there are a few issues with the program as a whole that we need to talk about. In this series, we're getting the Firehouse by BrickHucker, the Joust by Mommy, a small newspaper kiosk by Hosta's Builds, the Space Cafe by Rockin' Bricks 31, and a Wild West train station by Llucky. If you don't know, the Bricklink Designer Program is kind of like Lego Ideas in the sense that everything is fan designed and voted on, but where it's different is how the sets are actually released. Instead of becoming long-term retail sets, BDP drops 5 sets at a time, 3 times a year, in a 7-day pre-order window with limited quantities. Although it makes them less accessible, it's nice because it allows us to get sets from themes Lego doesn't release sets anymore for, like Western, or themes that only get occasional sets like Castle or Pirates. By far, my favorite of this wave is the Joust, no surprise there since I'm a huge Castle fan, but I want to go over each set, give some quick thoughts, and then talk about the overall state of the program at the end. Starting with the Medieval Joust, I'm really glad this one made it in. People have been submitting jousts basically every series, and we haven't gotten an official one in over a decade, so this feels overdue. If you watched my video about the top castle sets in Series 10, you'd probably recognize the name Mommy. They submitted multiple high-quality builds this round, so it's great to see that effort pay off. I really like that this includes all 4 of the new factions, with the Horse Knights hosting and tents for the others. Also, the main structure itself is super well done with little bits of detailing all around. At 3,099 parts, this is probably landing somewhere in the $260 to $300 range, and I'll definitely make an in-depth video on this one. But yeah, this is an instant pickup for me. Next up is the Train Station by Llucky. This is another fantastic build, and due to the lack of Western sets from Lego, it makes sense that these always do well in the program. The design here is excellent. I love the roof design, and the slightly angled tiles on the walls give it a really realistic look. From what we can see, the interior looks solid too. Personally, I'm not a big Western collector, so it's probably not one I'd pick up, but if you are into the theme, this feels like a great set. It comes in at 3,184 pieces, so again, probably in that 260 to 300 range. Interestingly, this is actually the largest set in the wave. Usually we see something closer to 4,000 parts, but this time it looks like they kept everything more in that 2,500 to 3,000 range. Now, the Space Cafe by Rockin' Bricks 31. This one is fun. It's bright, colorful, and has a ton of personality. What's interesting is that this is technically the first space-related BDP set. A big reason why I think this made it over other space sets is that it's not a spaceship or something actually in space, it's just a cafe with a retro sci-fi theme, which makes it appeal to a wider audience outside of hardcore space fans. The designer mentioned they were going for that 1960s atomic age aesthetic, and I think they nailed it. At 2,545 pieces, I'd expect this to land around $200 to $250, and if you do have a Lego City setup, this would fit in perfectly. Every BDP wave includes a smaller set to balance things out, and this time, it's the newspaper kiosk by Hosta's Builds. It's definitely not as flashy as the others, but that also means it's way more affordable, and that's important. Not everyone wants to or is able to drop $200 on a single set. The design is really solid. I like the octagonal shape, the roof detailing, and the little touches like the plants growing up the side and the big advertisement panel. At 729 pieces, this is probably around $50 to $60. Not really my kind of set, but it's undeniably well done. That said, I am a little disappointed the Medieval Theater didn't take this small set slot. Finally, the Firehouse by BrickHucker. Another really clean build. The exterior has a ton of nice texture, and while the interior is a bit minimal, I actually think that works for a fire station. It keeps that clean, functional look. The fire truck design is great too, and scales really well with the building. Plus, it's fully modular, so it would fit perfectly into a Lego modular collection or just a full-on Lego city. Not something I'd personally buy, but overall, it's a really strong design. At 2,998 pieces, I'd estimate around $240 to $290, although with tariffs increasing from Denmark to the US in June from 10 to 25%, we could start seeing these BDP sets get a bit more expensive moving forward. Overall, even though this wave isn't quite as exciting for me as Series Series 7, the quality is absolutely still on the same level, if not better. BDP designers just keep getting better, and the program itself is getting a lot more attention. Series 7 sold out completely, and if that trend continues, I honestly think they're gonna need to raise the cap. Right now, they can produce 150,000 units, but it could probably go up to 180 or even 200,000 and still sell through if the trends continue. At the same time, submissions are increasing too. We used to see maybe 200 to 300 entries per wave, and now it's more like 500 to 600, but they're still only picking 5 sets. So naturally, it's getting harder and harder for builds to make it through. I get that LEGO wants to keep the program more niche, but demand clearly isn't as niche as it once was, and I think there's room to expand. They could obviously increase the overall cap, but I also think they could increase the total amount of designs picked to more like 7 or 8, because outside of Castle and City, most themes rotate in and out of the program, and it would be nice to consistently see things like pirates, trains, space, or even have room for a second set from a popular theme like Castle that's otherwise limited to 1 per series. Series 8 looks solid, and Series 9 looks even better in my opinion, so it'll be really interesting to see how those perform. For reference, Series 8 crowdfunding starts June 9th, Series 9 starts October 7th, and Series 10 won't be until February 1st of next year. Let me know which Series 10 set is your favorite, and if you're planning on picking any of these up. If you want to stay up to date on the Bricklink Designer Program, make sure you're subscribed. As always, thank you for watching.